All right, it's time to take a look at the stories making the headlines at this hour. We start with the Daily Times. Now, major headline here says, despite election odds, Nigeria's currency remains strong, APCON. The Nation now, Buhari, no plan to remove INEC chairman Yakubu, and voted candidates stranded as airlines cancel flights. Then Daily Trust, we have how 66 Fulanis were killed in Kaduna villages. We still have our guests, Shijibomi Bennett and Dotun Ojon. Gentlemen, you've heard the newspaper headlines this morning. So which other stories seem to catch your fancy? I'll start with you, Shijibomi.
Yes, I will still talk on the INEC chairman's not being forced to resign. And
okay.
Especially, you know, with the rumor already going on, making the rounds that the president wants to suspend or replace him. But
you know that the Constitution, there is a provision on which you can, you know, ask or call for the sack of the commission's head, that's the INEC chair. But then he hasn't followed short of that. When you look at section 157, that if the president has to make an address based on, which is supported rather by the Senate, 2/3 majority, and that has to be as a result of infirmity of the body or mind. But that didn't happen.
Yes, but there are breaches as well, because he had 4 years to plan for this election, and at the end of the day, everybody was left in limbo at the last minute. But I will say that it's too close a call to make in the day, because we have elections in like 4 days. And for somebody that has learned from experience, that has learned from his mistakes, I believe he should be given that second chance to have a free and fair election. So, and I was saying something the other time that
quickly,
this time around, I think the product, the result, will determine if he will be forgiven for the postponement.
Okay,
Okay, what actually, I'm going to pick it from there. What led to the postponement is a product of many factors that has happened over the years, but I'm going to classify them under 2 elements. The first one is traditionality, and the second one is complexity. Traditionality, when mobile telephony became popular in Nigeria in 2002, you saw the impact of that on the Nigerian populace, and it took away unemployment to a certain degree. Then I was thinking that every sensible leader should be thinking in the part of technology. If we had invested in technology over the past 10 years, then what that will have done is to reduce the complexity of the governance process. You will not need to transport ballot paper to my village, for example,
but you
because
knew
of
about
the use of
the
technology.
struggles for the amendments to the Electoral Act.
Of course, there's never been any investment in technology to the point of accepting, what was it called? This kind of, what was e-voting at this point in time. So bringing e-voting will have been a very bad option, because the government has not over time
Is Nigeria
invested.
ripe for that?
That is what I'm saying. But we should have known that between 2002, when mobile telephony became popular, that we saw the impact of technology. We should have invested over time. By now, we will have been ripe. It will have taken away majority of our complexities. It's quite unfortunate.
All right, so which other story here, you know, gets your attention?
I think the election story is still the very most important story that we have to talk about. You know, him talking about e-voting and all that. I think the time is not yet right for Nigeria.
Why do you think
we
so?
can't just take a big leap into oblivion, because the major chunk of the people that still vote in Nigeria are in the rural areas. So how do you make them to subscribe or to even get them to vote when it's e-voting? BVN is still a problem. Now banks have decided, and they've, you know, evolved a new way of getting banking services to those people. How do they do it? They have representatives that are not really banks, or that don't really open offices. So they go there like a POS kind of thing. So you pay to them, but it depends on the level of payment. Okay. Then they give you money and all that. So when you have not really, put up or put down the infrastructure for all that, I don't think Nigeria can still
All right,
that route.
Dr. I'll take you back to a story you picked earlier, which has to do with the currency remaining strong. Shouldn't we commend the CBN for its sector reforms at ensuring that, you know, the Naira is still stable despite all of this?
The major challenge we have up to 1993 is our major challenge started from 1993 when we started this, when we became rascally with our, what's the name of the other market that we have? It's not black market, the bureau de change people.
Yes.
You understand? At the official market, when you have Naira, for example, up to 2000, up to 1999, Naira was around 22 Naira. And on the other market, it moved up to 90-something Naira. So once you continue to subsidize Naira like this, you continue to pump in money, you are also going to have a lot of problems.
Well, thank you for your contribution. As Shijibumi Bennett, thank you for your contribution at this hour. Well, we'll move on now. 3 million Nigerians slipped into extreme poverty in the last 2 months. Why is poverty on the rise in a nation as blessed as Nigeria?